When Marshall started running his way journey into Jake's Mountain, a lot of questions plagued into his mind. Most of them were about the Paw Patrol, and whatever or not it was right to abandon his duties like that, while also abandoning the people who depended on him. He also wondered if his friends really did hate him, or was it just the heat of the moment? Plus, there was his parents. He could have gone to them easily, or asked Ryder just to go home, but he felt too ashamed and face his parents as a failure. But the biggest question was on Marshall's mind, the mind at that moment. Was it if he made a wrong turn somewhere? The mountain area he was traveling in was unfamiliar to him, and he had been on the mountain a lot in the past. Great, another thing I'm not good at, following the stupid road. He turned to his left and saw the growing storm in the distance, which made his tail shiver. If he didn't find Jake soon, he was going to have to hold out against the storm, maybe. Maybe I could call Ryder. Maybe this wasn't such a great idea. It meant facing the consequences for his actions, and from his former friends, but Marshall knew it was smarter than ending up in the middle of the storm with no protection. Just as he was about to press his dog tag, he gasped upon seeing a family of bunnies hopping in the truck's way. Whoa, look out! Turning right, Marshall and his truck flew down the path and started to go downhill. Sharp rocks scattered everywhere as Marshall bumped and jerked in the seat, doing his best not to get motion sick. He then tried pressing on the brakes, but the ridge was too steep. Like a rocky road, this was ridiculous. Marshall then gasped when he saw that the hill was leading towards him, and a deep cliff, one that was too thick for puppy heaven. He tried pressing the brakes again, but they refused to budge. Marshall's scream echoed in the valley as the fire truck reached the edge and began to pummel to its doom. Without thinking, he cried out, "Arf! Ladder!" His ladder opened up from behind, and Marshall turned around, jumping onto it and continued to extend it while he climbed as fast as he could. When he reached the end, and he jumped just as high as he could, grabbed onto the ledge of the cliff, saving himself in just a nick of time. Grunting, he climbed up and laid on his back, panting over and over, "That was too close." Crash. Marshall's heart sank, and he opened his eyes and carefully peered over the cliff. He whimpered upon seeing his prized fire truck smashed on fire. Even worse, that everything that he owned was down there. His food, clothing, gear, and all Marshall had now only with him, that was his collar. I really did it this time," whispered Marshall, shaking his head. "How could this be any worse?" Just as soon as he said that, a crash of lightning echoed in the air as rain began to fall on him. Of course. Like any pilot, Skye hated flying through the rough weather. Still, she was a professional and wouldn't let herself get held back in a mission just to find Marshall. Skye never told anyone, but she used to have a crush on Marshall when she first met him. That was until they thought they were better off as friends. Marshall was nice, but wasn't boyfriend material for her. Although, if her girl situation was correct, she suspected that Everest might have had something for him. Instead, she decided to set her eyes on someone else. Skye sighed as she glanced down at the road, below her Chase in his spy mobile, and was still focused on one thing, finding his best friend. Chase's expression told everyone that he was worried the most, not even though he completely dropped his professional attitude. Screaming at himself while crying for his best friend showed how much he really regretted his hateful words towards Marshall. Not that Skye did regret her decision either, especially after what Marshall did for her that one time against the trouble from her past. While the pups were free to do whatever they want, within the reason, Sunday was Pup Patrol Day, and that was a day Ryder split the group up into teams of 2 to watch for any dangers and emergencies. However, due to the late-night rescue that required of the Paw Patrol, except Skye and Marshall, the only one group was out today, and the rest of them have been given the option to sleep in. Even Chase, who would normally love Patrol Day. And so they all geared up on their pup packs, and the duo headed off to their weekly patrol. Skye actually tried to remember the time she hung out on the patrol only with Marshall, but she couldn't really recall. The 2 pups were never sent out alone was with Chase because of reasons, and Zuma because she saw him as her kid brother, even if she was shorter than him. "So what do you want to do? Check out the farms, the beach, the playground?" asked Marshall, jumping up and down like a newborn pup, wagging his tail and panting. Skye chuckled at his adorableness. He was cute, but nice, but Skye wanted somebody more mature, someone like Chase. Thinking about Chase again? Asked Marshall, surprising her and laughing when he saw her blush. She did not know how all of him and the pups knew her crush was on the leader pup, but at least he didn't blab about it. I didn't know why you didn't tell him. I'm sure he'll accept. But he doesn't seem to notice me, a girl. I mean, he's always so serious about being a police dog. That'd probably be too focused on even, like me, answered Skye. Marshall then snorted and did his best to hold his laughter. Oh, geez. What? Nothing, said Marshall, laughing out loud. Nothing. He stopped and tilted his head upon realizing seeing something across the street. Hey, what's that? Skye turned around across the street to see that there was an empty parking lot. Usually it had something to do with Skye hadn't seen in a long time. A series of F-pink and decorated trailers, moving that can be the words, Dogs Beauties of USA. She didn't know why they would be there in the places of all Adventure Bay. Was a small town, not like a city like LA or New York. Probably just here to rest before moving on. Hey, didn't you used to be a model? Asked Marshall, asking Skye as they got closer. Skye sighed. Kinda. My family was in the dog modeling business, and my sisters are huge stars in Europe. And my mom and dad were big back in their day. They're retired now, and I used to do it, but I realized it wasn't for me. And I wanted to get into flying. So what happened? Asked Marshall, sitting down. One day I saw a small plane and I got inside, and I accidentally activated it. But before I was able to control it, I spotted a fire in the building with a mother and a baby on the roof. I landed and got them to safety, and my exploits were reported on TV. Riders soon contacted me and asked if I wanted to be part of Paw Patrol. Took me and convinced me and my parents, but they let me go, explained Skye. Thinking about that day, that was the day she felt so alive for the first time in her life and could really do something. All the photo shoots and dress-ups weren't exciting to her. She felt like a doll, living the life that she never wanted. Do you want to go check it out? Maybe it has some of your old friends, said Marshall. Skye shook her head. Nah, I wasn't close to anyone. Let's just continue, Oh my gosh, Tina! Look who it is! Shouted a snobby-sounding voice. Skye's eyes widened before she shut them down and cursed in her head. Oh no, not them. Anyone but them. Slowly turning around, Skye saw a poodle with a fancy haircut and a diamond pink dress, with a golden retriever, with curled up fursuit, wearing a light blue dress, with a tiara on her head. Suddenly Skye felt like she was under a spotlight in a tight dress, that she couldn't breathe. As everyone stared at her again, the two dogs walked up to scare Skye and confuse Marshall. Well, look what we have here. It's our good old pal Skye, said the poodle. You know them, Skye? Asked Marshall, but Skye only kept her head down. Oh, we know her all right. I'm Tina, and this is Beeb. We used to be friends. Isn't that right, Skye Cry? Teased the retriever. Skye turned away, biting at her lip. She remembered that awful nickname. That name took months for her to forget. Leave me alone. Was that you, little crybaby? Asked Tina. Growling, Skye screamed, I said leave me alone, and don't call me that. I am not a scaredy pup anymore. The two fashion dogs laughed and shook their heads before turning to Marshall. Has Skye never told you how bad she was as a model? She always posed wrong or knocked over stage equipment. Let's not forget the time she fell off the stage once, hurt her knee, and cried. That's only because you pushed me. You've always been bullying me around, shouted Skye, looking like she was about to rush at them. You can't prove anything, said Beebe, before looking at Skye's clothes and rearing back in disgust. Ugh, and I see that your sense of style has only gotten worse. Look at what you're wearing. This is my wing gear, and I'm a member of Paw Patrol, a rescue pup. I do far more good in this world than you two foo-foos ever do. Ooh, countered Skye. Oh, please, you're in Paw Patrol? I bet you're just a servant or something. There is no way they would take a crybaby like you, Skye Cry, said Tina. Skye was about to say something, but Marshall growled first. You're wrong. Skye is our friend, and she's one of our best flyers I've ever seen. Standing right in front of her like a knight, he continued, Skye has saved so many people with her flying skills. that we wouldn't do any half of our rescues without her. She's brave, smart, grateful, talented, and fun to hang out with. A lot less than I could say for you two uglies." The insulted dog gasped and growled. "Watch it there, Fireboy. We happen to be the top models of our industry." "Then industry stinks if it thinks you two are beautiful. Skye has a beautiful spirit, and more important than makeup, dress, or jewelry you wear," shouted Marshall. Marshall, thought Skye, who felt her heart skip a beat. She never knew had anyone who would stand up for her like that. "What are you, her boyfriend?" asked Bibi. "No, but I'm her friend, and as her friend, I feel inclined to do this." Marshall smirked before saying anything. "Arf, arf! Water cannon!" Skye watched as Marshall's water cannon came out of his pup pack and sprayed their two bullies with ice-cold water. The two screamed in fury as despair as the water ruined their perfectly appearances. They ran away calling for assistance while crying like babies. Skye and Marshall laughed as they saw the whole thing, and the former wishing that the camera had to record this to put online. It would have been perfect revenge against those two for everything they had done to her. But this was enough for now. "That was so awesome," shouted Skye, as she rushed over and licked the blushing Marshall. "Thanks for standing up for me." "What are friends for?" replied Marshall, putting his water cannon away. "Let's continue with the patrol, shall we?" "Let's," answered Skye, as they continued down the street, an extra skip in her walk. Marshall had helped her with their deal with her old bullies, and she even repaid them for bullying them back with the others. First, she felt unworthy being his friend, and swore she would ever do anything to bring her friend home. She glanced down when she saw Chase had found him, stopping in the middle of the road, pressing her communicator tag. She called, "Chase, did you find something?" "Yeah, I found a bunch of tracks, and it smelled like Marshall's truck," said Chase on the other line. "Really? That's great," shouted Skye, as hope began to fill in her chest. She quickly contacted Ryder. "Ryder, we found tracks of Marshall's truck." "Great work, pups. We'll try and head up to your location. But the storm is getting pretty rough," said Ryder. "Hang in there tight until we get there." "But Ryder, we need to find Marshall. He could be miles ahead, and any time we wait, it will waste our chance of finding him," shouted Chase. "And what happens if you get lost in the storm as well?" "Well, it's best if we do this together." "Can I at least use my drone? That way I can stay on search and we'll stay put," suggested Chase. Deciding to support Chase, Skye quickly said, "I'll be with him at all times, Ryder. Don't worry." "All right, just be careful. Ryder out." "Good luck, Chase," said Ryder. Super Spy Chase is on the case. Drone! As Skye came down for a landing, she saw the drone shot out and fly in the direction of the tracks. Landing down, she rushed over towards Chase, being more mindful of the rain, and saw him concentrate on the drone screen. She didn't see anything as Chase concentrated, but she did see the look of worry in his eyes. "Come on, Marshall. You have to be here somewhere," muttered Chase. "I have to find him. Have to find him." "Chase," said Skye, putting upon his shoulder. "We will find him. I promise." Chase nodded in thanks and then went back to his drone screen. Marshall normally liked being wet, but not this kind of wet. A grueling climb, the poor pup was forced to brave the mountain through the harsh storm. As he was almost at Jake's mountain by the side of the winter forest, just a few miles still, he climbed up to the place to rest for the storm to calm down. He had tried contacting for help, but his tag was damaged from the fall he took. Even if he wanted to call for help, which he did, he couldn't. Teeth clattering, Marshall braved his way throughout the rain and the cold winds, hoping that the lightning didn't hit him. As he made his way further up the mountain, need to find some place to rest. Then he noticed something nearby, gasped in joy. A cave! It was big, and it looked to be very deep. Putting extra energy into his legs, Marshall made his way to the cave and sighed in relief. Upon feeling the rain stop hitting his fur, shaking the water off, Marshall walked a bit deeper, but made sure not to go too far since it was completely dark and he had no flashlight. "It's really big. I wonder if it was used by somebody at one time," said Marshall, as he sat down and yawned. "I'm beat." The events of the day was finally hitting Marshall as he felt his sore body started to shiver again, and his stomach growled. He had no food, no clothing to keep him warm. He was alone. alone. Marshall had never been alone before until now. He always had his friends or family with him, but never just by himself. When he was with his friends, he always felt warm, safe, and happy. Now that he was alone, it was dark, cold, and scary. I don't like being alone," muttered Marshall, closing his eyes and sobbing. "I want my mom and dad, I want Ryder, and I want my friends. I want them so much. I want to go home." He didn't care if the pups hated him or if he was a klutz. He just wanted to get back home. He curled up with his best friend by the fire. He wanted Ryder to give him his teddy bear. He wanted Chase to lay beside him and keep him warm, like all the other times when he had gotten cold and lonely. He tried hitting his collar again. "Ryder, Chase, anyone, please find me. I need your help. I want to go home. Please," he cried again, just as the roar of thunder echoed. Or at least he thought it was thunder. Marshall heard a growling noise as he looked up and saw, standing on 2 feet, was an angry black bear. Marshall felt his whole body entirely freeze up as it raised its sharp claw. A second later, it came down upon him.